A dominant and unwelcoming leftist culture at Michigan State University? Yes, of course. Just look at the microaggression boards that have already been put up. This is a launch episode for my new series, Undeniable, with Sergei Kelley. Here I'll highlight news that Morning Watch has covered, things that weren't reported, and also further information on the indoctrination and leftist war at MSU. Today, we will cover the dominant unwelcoming leftist culture at Michigan State University by discussing the state news, microaggression boards, a resisting hate event, and also exclusive information from a video put out by the Morning Watch, the Watchdog series, and Campus Reform. Let's begin. So, earlier this week, the Morning Watch published a piece directly exposing the bias at the state news. Here are two important things to remember. First, the publication is funded by student tax dollars, $7.50 per student, which adds up to $285,000 for this year. Secondly, it's branded as independent, the independent voice of Michigan State University. And scrolling through their opinions section, you can see it's very heavily one-sided. A few article titles such as abortion rights need to be protected and MSU needs a standalone multicultural center. And the news, as pointed out in the Morning Watch article, does not get the whole scope at many times. More conservatives should try to work for them, write letters to the editor, and also the state news should evaluate and look at how they report and see if there is bias. It can be biased, but it should not be student funded if it is biased. Feel free to comment with your thoughts below about this. Moving on, microaggression boards. So microaggressions, as the left likes to call them, they are intended, unintended, vocal offenses to other people. Usually, typically, would say that they target marginalized communities or people of color, and so these boards are very easy to go over to and laugh at. That's what I did when I first saw it. But there's a much darker and fascistic undertone to it. This is an attempt to control language. Remember that, to control the culture. In his book, Amusing Ourselves to Death, Neil Postman writes, "We do not see nature or intelligence or human motivation or ideologies as it, but only as our languages are. And our languages are our media are our metaphors create the content of culture. Our metaphors create the content of culture." What he's saying is the shape of communication can imply much more than the actual message. Take the term gun violence. This can be used to direct a message that there should be zero mass shootings, and everyone can agree with that. But look at it deeper. All it says is gun violence. Now, how does this differentiate between a mother using a gun in her home protecting herself, or a kid in the classroom who shoots a mass shooter, or the mass shooter? In these microaggression boards, the term microassault is used. Written by MSU, this is stated as explicit bias and intended harm at someone to make them feel unwelcomed. So first, whoever you're talking to will not actually know your intent behind your words. That is subjective. And second, and the most important, is that what they label it as microassault. Think about the word assault in your head real quick. What images conjure up? They're probably not too positive. Maybe they're mostly bad things, such as a bully punching a kid, domestic abuse, protesters punching each other. In these situations, if able, people will defend themselves. And we've seen what Antifa does. We've seen that plenty of times, especially in the last few months. And we can see that it can turn very ugly very quick. And when we imply that words can actually hurt us, we've seen the negative consequences. And MSU didn't stop with microassault. They either conjured up or pulled out of some leftist playbook the terms micro-invalidation and micro-insult. And this gets crazy, even more crazy. Both of these are made-up terms, are defined as implicit bias and unintended harm at someone to make them feel unwelcome. So implicit is non-explicit, so you don't really know, and then unintended is obviously you didn't intend it, so you don't So even if you don't intentionally microaggress someone, you will, as long as they get offended. This is complete lunacy. And they do it in the name of flowers, bridges, rainbows, and butterflies, and the left's overflowingness of compassion and selflessness, just to build better communities. Remember, the devil is not ugly, but he is very beautiful. It is fascism disguised as liberalism, as Reagan once said, and warned us about. These boards play well into the same hand of the leftist culture as a biased independent student-funded paper. Now, one last story for you all. Just this week, MSU held a Building Community Resisting Hate panel. The goal is to highlight the dangers of white nationalism, threats of these hate groups pose to our communities, and the importance of building community to resist these threats. Now, I completely support this mission to stand against white nationalism, any nationalism based on personal appearance or identity, but as it goes, they move from denouncing actual hate to anti-American, anti-West. Here were some quotes that were said at the panel that the Morning Watch was able to find. Quote, "You can't say things in public about certain groups, but you can about Muslims. When Muslims die, it's okay." Another quote, "We find the Pioneer Land Grant College problematic, and we recommend it not to be used." And MSU is a Pioneer Land Grant College, just so you know. Also, another one, "It is very American to take land and to establish racist laws." And furthermore, quote, "This country was founded on racism and genocide." And lastly, another quote, "Marriage of whiteness and Christianity that feeds into anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, white supremacy, and to the patriarchy." Now, practically none of these are legitimate claims that can be backed up. In areas where Christianity, not paganism, has existed, more good has been done, from building to hospitals, to schools, to better civil values, and the better treatment of women. An event like this just spews subjectivity. Not only does it disservice to actually standing against actual hate groups, but is an open door to more complaining, desensitization to current bad threats, and is the obvious product of a dominant and unwelcoming leftist culture at MSU. And I'll quickly close with this. An effect of this at MSU today. On Constitution Day, Emma and I went out and asked students, one, if it was Constitution Day, they knew that, the relevance of Constitution today, and whether things such as the First and Second Amendments were relevant. First being amendments, free speech, assembly, stuff like that, and also Second Amendment, right to bear arms. So you can probably predict what the majority of the responses were, but I have to tell you, those few, the 2 out of 8, who expressed conservative values and views backed them up with sound reason. The one professor and the other 4 students, who at least tried to articulate leftist positions, did not give solid rationale. They did not use any facts. They did not use current recent events and actually what happened. The majority of these students and people just didn't know what they were saying. And I think it's because largely they're trying to defend something that they do not know, but they have just been told. They have not concluded this stuff. They have not concluded this self for themselves. It's just been told and they're just passing it on. And this isn't an accident, I think. The dominant and unwelcoming leftist culture at MSU is dominant because people aren't exposed or familiar with other views that are too often left unnoticed by the state news, labeled as microaggressions, or just defamed at MSU events. This has been Undeniable Sergei Kelley. I would subscribe to this video and also to the Morning Watch. Stay up to date with the dominant and unwelcoming leftist culture at MSU.